Alright, so if you've done the tutorial so far, you should have Anaconda and VS Code installed on your computer. And by the end of this, we'll have this stuff all set up so that you can run Python scripts on your local computer. So the first thing we're going to want to do here is go to our extensions, and we're going to add, right here at the top, popular, we're going to add the Python extension. And then while that's installing, we're going to want to go down here and put in and open up our Anaconda prompt. And we're going to make our Conda environment so that we can basically have separate environments for each of our programs that we're going to run, so that we don't have conflicts between versions and stuff like that. So what we're going to type in is conda create dash name, and then what this is, after that dash name, you want to put in whatever you want the name of the environment to be. So for this, we're just going to put tutorial. If you want to add extra words, you need to do a hash. So you can do tutorial1 or do anything like that, or just the name of the project, whatever you want. So then after that, we're going to do Python equals 3.7, and then we're also going to put pip. And what this will do is basically it'll create a separate isolated environment named tutorial with Python version 3.7, and it'll also download pip for us. So then we're just going to click enter. So now we have our Python. We can see it's installed here. We're going to want to reload this. So if we do Control-Shift-P, it'll open up this prompt here. We're going to click reload, and that'll reload our window. So now we can see this is there. And what we have to do is just wait for this to finish. We're going to click yes to start this install process. And then once this is finished, we'll have that available so we can use it with VS Code. Okay, so now we can see we got our Conda environment. It's all downloaded and it's created. And when we want to activate it, if you want to add like a package to it, you can just do conda activate and then the name of that environment. And we can see now it goes from base to tutorial, so we're inside that custom environment we just created. I'll have some other commands that I'll put in on the web page so that you can do other stuff, like you can list, if you have multiple environments, you can always do a conda list and it'll list them all out so you can see which ones you have if you forget, if you already had one created or whatever. But for now, we can start working with VS Code. So we're going to do open folder, and then basically you can open up any folder, any projects you have from here. And basically, it takes a few seconds there. And we can see here we have an empty folder. So inside this, we can now create a file, and we're just going to do test.py, and for Python the extension at the end is always going to be .py. So click enter to create that, and now what we're going to do is we can see our extension is activating down here. We don't have, we can take care of that later, but what we're going to want to do is we have to activate the right environment. So we're going to click on here, and it takes a second for it all to load. But now we can see that we have the base environment here, and we can see our custom. So you're going to want to select this so that VS Code is using the right environment package. So if we click on that, it'll take a little bit for it to switch out, and there it is. And since we're going to want to install this, this will tell you if you have any errors in your code. It'll give you a notification so you can figure out what's going wrong, and so you can fix it a lot easier than having to look through it manually and find exactly where it's going wrong. So just click install, and it'll take care of that for you automatically. And we'll do with pip. So if you ran that command and you're on Windows, you're going to get something like this where it says the term is not recognized. That's because by default this VS Code uses a Windows PowerShell, so what we're going to do is fix that so that we can use this anaconda prompt inside this integrated terminal, because it's just a lot more convenient and it's faster to do it that way. So what we're going to do is click Control-Shift-P, and then we're going to type in settings, and we're going to open up settings.json file. And then the first thing we're going to do is we're going to type in terminal.integrated, and then we're going to look for our shell. So terminal integrated shell Windows, and then we're going to change this from what it is now. We're going to delete this part, and then we're going to put in /command.exe. So that's the first thing we're going to change. And then next we're going to do terminal.integrated, and then we're going to change the arguments that we're passing. So shell args.windows. Then inside this, what we're going to want to do is go down to our open anaconda prompt. We're going to right click again, and then we're going to open up these properties. And then if we look in here, we don't want this part here, so we see command.exe. Everything after that, we're going to scroll over and copy and paste that. And then we're going to put that into this little array. So we're going to paste that. And then next up, we have to format this properly. So first thing we want to do is delete this, and we're going to add a comma, because these need to be separate arguments. And we're going to add the quotations after. And then the last thing we do is we need to escape this file path, because right now we can see it causes an error, because that's just how Windows reads it. So we have to add a second backslash to all these so that it can read the file path properly. And you can see now we don't have any of those errors showing up. So one last thing we want to do so our debugger works properly is we're going to add one more line, and you want to make sure you have these commas after each of these lines so that it can read it properly, we don't get any errors. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to add the Python path, and by default it's going to go to this, but what we want is this right here. So we're going to make sure it's pointing towards anaconda. So we're going to delete those extra quotation marks. Whoops. And then what you want to make sure you do here is this is going to be your username. So make sure you change that to that one part, and but everything else is fine for that. But to make sure your username is in this right here, and the same goes for this. You want to make sure you paste those, and you don't just copy this directly. So now if we click out of that, and we're going to click out, and we're going to open up a new terminal, and we can see now it automatically opens up with our Python command prompt. It detects which environment we're using in VS Code, and we can use this right here. So now we can do a test with our code. We're just going to do test, and if we come into here and do Python test.py, and we can see it works properly. So now, just like in my other tutorials for those tools, like WebSuck and the text message tool, to run your files, all you have to do is just type them in like I show in that tutorial. So basically what this setup is now is you have locally what it would be if you used that Coder ID website. They use the same as this editor's called VS Code. That's what they use. They just provide it hosted on their servers instead of locally. So I'll have some other links to some more in-depth tutorials on VS Code if you want to customize stuff a little bit more. But for just running Python programs, you should be good to go now.